Andrew Tate was accused of sexual assault by yet another woman, and the details are both disturbing and damning, to say the very least. And I want to give a warning here that the story includes triggering language and graphic descriptions of sexual assault. So if you need to bow out for the story, now is the time to do that. So here's what we know so far. Vice News obtained WhatsApp messages and voice notes sent by Andrew Tate to a woman who accused him of rape in 2013. In this story, she's referred to as Amelia to protect her identity. So this account is separate from the report that came out last week about allegations of rape and abuse from two different women. It's also separate from what he's under arrest for right now, which is allegations of sex trafficking in Romania. So Amelia said that she and Tate had been acquainted first in 2009, but their relationship didn't turn romantic until 2013. She alleged that the assault happened in November of 2013, the first time that Amelia went to Tate's apartment after they had been dating for a couple of weeks. So Vice World News reported on this, and they said she said the pair were kissing on Tate's bed when he began to take off her clothes. She had previously told him, she said, that she didn't want to have sex. He stopped, reassured her that nothing was going to happen, and they continued kissing. After a while, she said he suddenly stopped and laid back on the bed. I got up and looked at him and went, "What's wrong?" She said. This guy literally laid there and went, "I'm just debating whether I should rape you or not." And Amelia said she was confused at first and thought it might be some kind of joke. And I'm just gonna stop again and give another warning, because the descriptions I'm about to provide are graphic descriptions of sexual assault. But the Vice World News continued on in the reporting and said that suddenly, she said, Tate grabbed her neck and started strangling me, forcing my trousers off me. I was trying to keep them on and he started screaming at me, "Take the effing trousers off, bitch." Tate then raped her, Amelia said. As he did, she said, he continued to choke her, saying things like, "Who do you belong to?" Even as she was unable to physically speak due to his hands constricting her throat. He's like, "Effing say it, bitch. You're not effing saying my name. Say my effing name, otherwise I'll kill you," she said. So then when Amelia got home, she cried and called a friend who helped spell out to her that what had happened was in fact rape. In a lot of cases of rape, the survivor might try to rationalize what happened or blame themselves before they come to the realization that they were raped, especially in a culture that doesn't believe survivors. That tends to happen, and that's what happened in this case. Amelia said that for a very long time, she was in denial about the alleged rape, feeling that acknowledging it had happened would negatively define her. To this day, she struggles to even use what she refers to as the R word. So, I mean, this is just disturbing and disgusting. And I feel so horrible for this woman who was traumatized by this man who was then allowed to get such a massive platform. And we've got more, but Mark, first I want to bring you in on this. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, it's disgusting on top of disgusting that the community around Tate has rallied to his support in some way. I understand there's this kind of toxic masculinity cool that's going on. When I say understand it, I really don't condone it. It's led to a lot of bad things and abuse of all sorts, but it is out there. And I think he's cocooned himself in that world, you know, the world of right on. But it is obviously, this is obscene in the extreme. And I don't mean to kink shame. You know, I know people there, you can be into all kinds of sexual encounters, but that's something that you get clear on ahead of time. This is way past any kind of kink. I mean, this is a dangerous guy who has sexually abused this woman, and he clearly has a cycle of abuse, sexual abuse, that has to be stopped. And yet he is, as you'll note, Ray, not in prison or in any kind of jail situation or even any kind of prosecution for anything related to these sexual charges.
Yeah, and to the point you were making about kink, I just want to include in here that this allegation of rape from this woman, Amelia, was actually the reason that Andrew Tate was kicked off the UK's version of the Big Brother. But instead of owning up to this, Andrew Tate of course, defended himself by bringing up a separate situation of a video where he was consensually engaging in an activity where he beat a woman with a belt, and that woman said that it was all consensual. So he was forwarding this theory that was the reason he was kicked off of the UK's version of the Big Brother, when in actuality it was because of this rape accusation. But of course, he's the one leading his defense and guiding his fanboys into, repeating his talking points.
And one other thing I would say, Ray, is that when you did such a good job of both warning us and also of reading these sort of horrifying things, sort of relating the entire thing with quotes, you can actually hear him say this stuff. And when you hear him say it, it's even more chilling. So the jujitsu you have to do in your mind to try to somehow justify this, I can't even imagine it. And it's extraordinary, and it feels so extreme when you're actually hearing him say these things.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are going to, in a few moments, play one of the audio recordings of Tate saying these things in his own words. But I've got a little bit more I need to explain before we get to that. So Amelia continued to see Tate after this for a number of months afterwards, which is exceptionally common for victims to continue to see their abusers afterwards, especially when they're in that process of realizing what had happened to them. And this included having consensual sex. Again, this doesn't mean that she wasn't raped. This is exceptionally common for survivors of rape. But she did this in part as an effort to deny what had happened to her and to regain her sense of self-control, because that's what rape is. It's violently taking away somebody's ability to control their own body. But eventually she did break things off with him when she was to the point where she was so fearful for her own safety. And about 6 months after the alleged rape, Amelia filed a complaint with Bedfordshire police, who she felt were dismissive of her experience and trauma. Again, an unfortunately all too common experience for survivors. So instead of pursuing the case, she opted to log it, which means that she recorded the allegation with police to potentially pick up again at a later date. But in 2015, she received a call from an officer at a neighboring police force. Vice reported that the officer told her the force was looking into complaints from 2 other women who had also made complaints of abuse, including one of rape and another of repeatedly strangling a woman, against Tate, and asked whether Amelia would be happy with her complaint being included in that investigation. So these are the same 2 women who went public with their experiences last week that I mentioned earlier. And Amelia said yes and handed over her phone, which included voice notes and messages from Tate. Again, from Vice, these messages included an exchange that took place after the alleged sexual assault and while they were still seeing each other, in which Tate wrote, "I love raping you. Monsters are monsters," he wrote. "When you're under my control, I do whatever I please." And again, I have to emphasize, this is Tate in his own words, confessing to raping this woman and enjoying it. Just to all of the people out there still defending him. So there was another exchange that took place after Amelia stopped seeing him. Tate initiated it and sent her an unsolicited video that showed him breaking a baseball bat on his shin, and then he followed it up with this voice note.
Am I a bad person? Because the more you didn't like it, the more I enjoyed it. I loved how much you hated it. Turned me on. Why am I like that? Why? I am one of the most dangerous men on this planet. Sometimes you forget exactly how lucky you were to get by me. Would you rather me pin you down and make you do things you didn't like? Or would you rather you didn't like that I was thinking I can do whatever I want to? That's what it is. I'm the smartest person on this planet. Are you seriously so offended I strangled you a little bit? You didn't pass out. Chill the out. Jesus Christ. I thought you were cool. What's wrong with you?
Tate perfectly described himself as a monster earlier, and you heard that monstrosity in his own voice and his own words there. He also called Amelia his whore, and despite admitting he strangled her a little bit, mocked her for being upset about the assault. Amelia's complaint led to Tate being arrested on suspicion of rape in December of 2015. The second time that year, he was held, questioned, and then released under investigation. But police didn't pass the case file to the CPS, whose job involves assessing whether there is a realistic prospect of conviction for 4 more years. Turning back to Vice, in 2019, the Crown Prosecution Service, CPS, declined to pursue charges against Tate for any of these allegations. The woman who supplied police with messages sent by Tate said police told her charges were not brought because there was an ounce of doubt in the case. What is the ounce of doubt? Is it when Tate admitted that he raped her multiple times, in not just in messages that he wrote, but in voice messages? Where's the ounce of doubt in that? Is it so out of the question that this man who has multiple rape allegations against him committed rape in this case? It's absurd and it is ridiculous. And so often survivors have to go through these, first of all, the traumatizing experience itself of the assault, and then being re-traumatized by the police and their absolute inability to protect women and protect sexual assault survivors. And unsurprisingly, like the other 2 women, Amelia now feels that the failure of police and prosecutors to get justice has allowed Tate to continue a pattern of misogynistic and abusive behavior towards women, which ultimately led to his arrest in Romania last month. And he will remain under arrest for at least the rest of this month. Mark.
Well, it's not just that it's allowed Tate to continue, but it allows others to continue, because you see that the system of justice just doesn't work for women who are the victims of this violence. That's what I think is an even greater shame on the culture, that a police officer or a collection of police officers can look at this situation and go, I don't know, there's an ounce of doubt, so we just push it to the back burner. It's completely unacceptable. And as I say, it has a chilling effect on victims across the globe. These Western cultures are supposed to be set up such that the complaints of women and the allegations of women, might be a better word, are at least taken seriously. And as you suggest, pull back the curtain at all on this and look at the details, and it's damning. I think it's really disturbing in the extreme that this case was handled this way. This guy is an obvious grotesque mess, but that the society didn't bring him to heel, that's another grotesque mess.
Yeah, you're spot on with that. And I'll just add that survivors, when they come forward with their stories, particularly if it's after some time of the initial assault, are often told, especially on social media, why didn't you just go to the police? I don't believe you. You didn't go to the police. This is what happens when they do go to the police. In a lot of cases, absolutely nothing. And this is, of course, happening in the UK and in Romania, but it's not like it's not happening here. How many hundreds of thousands of rape kits are sitting waiting to be tested in the United States for years upon decades? This inaction is not just, of course, a United States issue, but it's a global issue of not believing women. And in the wake of the Me Too movement, it's sad to see. I'm glad to see that Andrew Tate has been detained and that he'll probably be held accountable for what he did in Romania. But it's sad to see this continuous push from just regular people to tell women that they're liars, because there's nothing to be gained from making an allegation that's false. There's nothing to be gained for the most part in making a true allegation. And it takes true courage and bravery to do what these women did. And then for them to just be completely disregarded by the police is so shameful.
Yeah, the process it's humiliating on many levels to come forward, as you suggested, and then it's completely unsatisfying. And in this culture, to make your point, specifically in this country, you have a culture of rape in the military and in other patriarchal institutions that has essentially sanctioned rape. I mean, it's this sexual violence is hard enough to deal with from the standpoint of society. And as we built this justice system, it's still so difficult for women to come forward with these details and to be taken seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm hoping that these survivors can get justice, and we'll keep you all updated on developments in Andrew Tate's case.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.